Welcome to Waters World. I'm Jesse Waters. It's been an entire year since Donald Trump was elected president, and in honor of the anniversary, our producers compiled what they believe are some of his most memorable moments. Joining me now is host of Michelle Malkin Investigates on CRTV.com, Michelle Malkin. Okay, Michelle, so let's get started. Trump versus the press. We caught wind of this soundbite from one of the people over at MSNBC. Let's take a listen.
The people that have prospered the most while Donald Trump's ratings have collapsed to record lows are his enemies. The New York Times doing better than ever. The Washington Post doing better than ever. Networks doing better. CNN's doing great on revenue. We're doing great. I mean, all of the people that he's attacked seem to actually be doing quite well. Donald Trump has been great for the media.
All right, Michelle, maybe the ratings are going up, but their credibility is going way down. How do you see it?
Yeah, well, I love watching this self-delusion in action. It really is fascinating from a psychological perspective. And I think that what Donald Trump has done most effectively is expose the media bias that so many of us who are journalists and out of the closet as right-leaning have tried to expose for the last 20, 30 years.
Yep.
Listen, I mean, you could do PhD dissertations on liberal media bias until you're blue in the face. But it wasn't until Trump came along, and I think more effectively than any other Republican politician, was able to poke them in the eye and use social media to expose their false narratives. Look, I've got kids, and admittedly, I am conservative, but I certainly have not imposed my ideology on either of my kids, and they use the term fake news in an unironic way because of the effective repetition of Donald Trump.
Right, and I think he's done really long-term damage to some of these brands, especially CNN, who I don't think is ever going to recover from the fake news moniker. Let's look at some of the highlights from Trump's rumbles with the press.
Just because of the attack of fake news and attacking our network, I just want to ask you.
I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine?
Very fake news.
I know, but aren't you?
When the media lies to people, I will never, ever let them get away with it. They have their own agenda, and their agenda is not your agenda.
The press has no sense of humor. He just retweets this funny video of him body slamming a CNN logo, and they think it's an attack on the First Amendment.
I know, and they're ready to go to international human rights tribunals. I mean, the self-importance and the narcissism of the media, too. Donald Trump has done a fabulous job of popping their bubble. And you know what, Jesse, I have to say that over the years, I haven't agreed with every policy decision or policy position that Donald Trump has made, but he has made covering politics fun again. And the fact is that it's not just the liberal media establishment that he's gone after, it's the entire Beltway establishment. And again, I would have to say that there isn't a modern American politician since Reagan who has been able to do and use his platform as effectively as Donald Trump has. He's been able to subvert and sabotage and circumvent the mainstream false narratives, and it is because of his use of Twitter and social media, and that, again, that effective repetition that he does. And by the way, this is not messaging by committee, Jesse. This is what's so important. He doesn't have to wait for 10 speechwriters and 50 media consultants to tell him what to say, and that's what I love about him.
No, he's lethal, and I think that's why the press is so discombobulated, because he's so effective and it's driving them crazy. Let's look at some international news here. This is the president on the North Korean dictator. Go.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime. The United States is ready, willing, and able, but hopefully this will not be necessary.
Now we have to update this. It's now Lil Rocket Man, L-I-L, Michelle.
Yeah, like a rapper, you know, like Lil Jon or
Right.
Lil Wayne.
Right.
I love it. You know, Donald Trump, of course, was in the milieu of Hollywood and pop culture. And the late Andrew Breitbart always said that politics was downstream of culture. And I don't think that there is a Republican Party figure who has been more immersed in that culture than Donald Trump. And of course, it comes with both liabilities and benefits. But the benefit is that he's able to penetrate a world that the Republican Party and the fuddy-duddies in the Republican Party have always paid lip service to wanting to reach out to, but have never been able to do it effectively.
That's the
I
word.
mean,
It's penetrate,
right?
Michelle. He's able to penetrate
Yes.
because of his expertise in branding. He did it with Crooked Hillary, with Lyin' Ted, and that just goes right into the bloodstream, and he does it through Twitter, and Lil Rocket Man is a great example of that. Let me show you some pictures now, which were used as lies. Let's look at now. I want to show you. This is the eclipse. Remember the solar eclipse? Everyone gets their little glasses. This is the president looking what everybody says was directly at the sun. And I bet a lot of people wish his eyes had burned out in the mainstream media, Michelle.
I'm sure they did. But this is actually, a picture does say 1,000 words. And what this tells you is just how thoroughly immersed in Trump derangement syndrome so many of the media manufacturers are, whether we're talking about that picture or the koi fish
Oh, yeah,
picture
let's show
in
that
Japan.
koi pond where he was feeding the fish. Now, this was shown as an example of the president having no decorum and no diplomacy, but this was actually him dumping the fish food after Prime Minister Abe of Japan had done it. So that was a total lie as well. I also want to show you something. This was down in Puerto Rico. Do you remember after the hurricane, he went down there to offer some relief, and he was, I guess as a basketball player would, throwing jump shots out of the paper towels to the people in the back. Now, this was used to make the president look like he was trivializing things. But in fact,
Yes.
all the people in the front row next to him were media, and the people that actually needed the paper towels were in the way back, so he had to really actually shoot a jump shot to get it to him.
Exactly. And, you know, there used to be a time when the liars in the media would get away with these kinds of fabrications. Do you remember long ago when George Herbert Walker Bush was at a grocery store technology conference,
Yep.
and they tried to make it look like he didn't know what he was talking about with scanners and make him look ignorant. And it would get repeated over and over and over again. And it took 10 or 15 years before people admitted that the whole thing was a lie. Now we have instant fact checking.
Yep.
And it is because of the crowdsourcing that's available now in the media and the pushback. And I've lived through the era where, you know, it used to take 100 or 200 conservative blogs to fight back against these liberal lies. And now it just takes one Donald Trump tweet to pop their bubble. I love it.
That's it. So speaking of Donald Trump tweets, let's show one right here. This is one of my favorites. My use of social media is not presidential. It's modern day presidential. Make America great again. You know, that's just, it just totally threw everybody out the window. And what I also love is when he goes, this might not be very presidential, but, and then he'll say like, Fat Michael Moore's Broadway show bombed.
Yeah, you know, he's made me laugh and he's made me enjoy covering politics again. And that's not to say that there aren't times where I'm gritting my teeth and just sort of holding on for the ride.
I am too.
But there's a sense of fun about it. And you know what? Look, we live in a meme world now. We live in a world of Snapchat and Facebook and 280 characters. And you either ride that wave or you get run over. And clearly, Donald Trump is a master.
He is. And I hate to end this on a sour note, but this Russia investigation has clearly dominated the mainstream media, at least for most of the year, beginning in the spring when Mueller was appointed special counsel. This is the president tweeting about it. You are witnessing the single greatest witch hunt in American political history, led by some very bad and conflicted people. Michelle, I got about a minute left. Finish it up for us.
Well, I think the bottom line here is that Donald Trump is absolutely right about at the end of this year, what do we have here? Not only do we have at the end of this investigation a nothing burger, it's not even a nothing side of fries, okay, Jesse?
You're making me hungry here.
Right, I know, and it's part of that mania of the liberal media themselves, so guilty of hypocrisy on their position on Russia when they overlooked all of the national security concerns that Hillary and Bill's Clinton cash machine brought to the table. But they're not going to give up, and that's why I think it's more important than ever that Donald Trump double down on the kind of circumvention tactics that we've been talking about this entire segment, and getting ahead of and in front of and around this propaganda machine that calls themselves liberal journalists.
Okay, Michelle, thank you very much.
You bet.
Still to come, a classic Waters World Thanksgiving quiz. But coming up next, the future president of the United States, and he's only 9 years old.
Trump will make America first again, and Trump will make America great again!
Like we some warriors, my mama told me never.
Less than a year on the job, and President Trump's already inspiring the next generation to enter politics and make a difference. And a few just months ago, I spoke with one of the president's biggest and youngest fans, who also has political aspirations of his own. Meet 9-year-old Jacob Silva. So you think you could be president? Actually, you have plans to be president at some time. Is that true?
Yes.
How are you going to go about accomplishing that? I think you have to be over 35. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is the beginning of your presidential campaign?
Gay.
Okay. Actually, I think the real beginning of the campaign was when Ed Henry, one of our correspondents, discovered you at the inauguration.
We got a mini Donald Trump. How old are you?
9.
Where are you from?
Rhode Island.
And when did you get here? Did you have a long drive?
We got here Wednesday night, and the drive was 8 hours.
8 hours. Do you realize how much history you're going to be witnessing today at the age of 9?
Yes.
And why do you like Donald Trump? You got the hat, you got the button, you got everything.
Well, I like him mostly because of the immigration.
Immigration issue, you're following that closely at the age of 9.
And the taxes.
And taxes, too. You're not paying taxes yet, are you?
No.
Okay, but your parents are. All right, well, we appreciate you coming out today. Enjoy the history, all right?
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay. Jacob, so you owe Ed a big thank you because he really discovered you. Anything you'd like to say to Ed Henry?
Thank you for interviewing me.
Now, you told Ed that you are a fan of Donald Trump because of immigration. Tell me what you think of Trump's immigration platform.
I think if Trump builds a wall, I think it would definitely work. And so I'm okay with legal immigrants coming into the country, but not with illegal immigrants, because a lot of those illegal immigrants have problems or guns or drugs, and they shouldn't be coming into our country. And our country has too many problems right at the moment, and we shouldn't have illegal immigrants in our way.
Well put. I think you hit it right on the head there, Jacob. And actually, Donald Trump just issued an executive order beginning construction of the wall pretty soon. And who's going to pay for the wall, Jacob?
Mexico.
That's what we're hearing. Also, taxation. Tell me why you think lowering taxes is good economic policy.
I think lowering taxes would be better, because right now our taxes are too high, and they're way, way too high, and it has to stop. Trump's been talking a lot about lowering taxes, and Obama, and they made the taxes go higher.
Yep.
Which probably didn't help. And right now there's taxes on everything, like free education. Who's going to pay for that? Taxes, all these other things. What's going to pay for that? Taxes. So I I think our taxes need to be lowered a lot.
All right. And then if your parents have more money in their pockets, they can buy you some more toys. It works out perfectly for everybody. All right, it's been a while since Jacob was last on our show, so we thought we'd check in with the future president to see what he's been up to. So, Jacob, welcome back on Water's World.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to get from you your assessment of President Trump's first year when it comes to immigration. How has the president done on that front?
So I think he has done great. Illegal immigrants aren't pouring into our country as much anymore. The wall, he's been planning that out. I still like the idea of the wall.
Yeah. No wall, though, Jacob. Where's the wall? He promised the wall. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how I feel. Mm-hmm.
I think the wall would really help because it would have to be, like, deep because you can dig tunnels and...
Yep. You got to make sure they can't tunnel under it, and it has to be high enough so they can't catapult drugs over the top of it.
Yes, like 18 to 30 feet high.
You're exactly right. And the prototypes that have been approved are all 18 to 30 feet. You've done your homework, Jacob. Now, let me ask you about the president's tax plan. Right now, the House passed it, and the Senate's kind of in limbo now. Do you think this is going to be good for America?
I think lowering taxes would really help. It would put more money in the hands of Americans, and we would be able to buy more things that we would need. Right now our taxes are high, and I know that President Trump is working on that. Just the House and the Senate still have to kind of work it out to make it happen. And the same thing with the Obamacare, getting rid of that.
Yeah, they might actually put the Obamacare repeal of the mandate in with the tax cuts. And who knows what's going to happen? Do you think Congress is going to do its job and pass tax relief?
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, Congress hasn't always done its job, so we're going to follow that closely. Trump's trip to Asia. Just got back recently. Very successful trip. Freed some UCLA basketball players. Played golf with the Japanese Prime Minister. What do you think was the best thing about Trump's Asia swing, Jacob?
Mainly, he's making good relationship with countries overseas. And that's good because we need countries that are other countries in our support that could help us in bad times, such as with North Korea. We're just in a bad situation with them.
Yeah. I agree.
I feel, yeah.
How would you
I feel
handle
their
North
leader
Korea? What would you do, Jacob?
I feel like Trump needs to be very strong with that because that is a very bad country and we're in a very bad situation at the moment because they have a bad leader.
Yeah, Little Rocket Man. All right, well, we're going to take care of Little Rocket Man. Don't you worry. I heard you went to Mount Rushmore. Is that true, Jacob?
Yes, it was a very breathtaking scenery, very great trip.
Who do you think we should put on Mount Rushmore? Would you put Trump on Mount Rushmore?
Yes.
You would?
I would probably, for TV hosts, put my friends you and Ed Henry on, and then Sean Hannity and Judge Janine.
Jacob, have I ever told you how much I like you?
Yeah, kind of. You've mentioned it.
You're a very smart kid, Jacob, and I appreciate you coming on Water's World, and keep paying attention and reading about all these policies. It seems like you have a really sharp head on your shoulders. You don't get teased for being a Trump supporter by your little elementary school friends, do you?
You know, it's Rhode Island. It's politics. I can. I have friends that support me.
All right,
but then there's others that don't.
Yeah, well, you know what? Your elementary school is probably just as divided as the rest of the country, so you're just going to have to just keep pushing and making America great again, as your hat says. Jacob, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Still ahead, my exclusive tour inside President Reagan's beloved Santa Barbara Ranch. But first, President Trump renewing calls for a border wall after an agent is killed on the job. We debate after this. Immigration always a hot button issue, but now President Trump is renewing calls for a border wall after a Border Patrol agent died on the job. Rogelio Martinez was killed on Sunday while responding to activity along the Texas-Mexico border. His partner was seriously injured. Here's how Trump responded to the incident.
We lost a Border Patrol officer just yesterday, and another one was brutally beaten and badly hurt. Looks like he'll make it, but very badly hurt. And we talk about the wall. We're going to have the wall. It's part of what we're doing. We need it.
Joining me now is former Trump Hispanic Advisory Council member and Fox News contributor Steve Cortez and immigration attorney Francisco Hernandez. Okay, Steve, hey, the wall still not built. That might have had something to do with preventing this tragedy. Would you agree?
Sure, absolutely. Thankfully, prototypes have been built. And the good news is, this is a terrible story, but the good news is illegal crossings have plunged under President Trump. So we've made great progress. But obviously, we still need to go even further because the border area, even on the United States side, is a lawless, dangerous territory. Anyone who lives there and works there will tell you that. And what a tragedy to lose Agent Martinez, who leaves behind a fiance and a son. Just another reminder that we need to stabilize the border, and that includes a wall.
Yeah, Francisco, what would you say to the family of this fallen Border Patrol agent?
Well, I would say to the family that I am embarrassed that our president would use this tragedy as a political opportunity to go ahead and trump about a wall that we know can't be built. But you know what?
Wait, why can't the wall be built?
Well, because we tried in 2002. But you know what? If you think it will fix the problem, let's go ahead and build it. We're going to have to legalize 100,000 Mexicans to build it, and that's a pretty damn good start for immigration reform.
Listen, you and I both agree that building a long border wall across the southern border would create hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of jobs for Americans.
It sure would. And you know, maybe it will solve the immigration problem if you can employ everybody, sure.
All right, Steve, go ahead.
But we know it can't happen.
The idea that we, the greatest superpower in all of human history, the idea that we can't secure our border or that we're incapable of building a wall, I think that's just madness. And what I would also point out here, by the way, is very often the case, very often Hispanics are the victims of stupid liberal policies like sanctuary cities and like a porous border. And in this case, that's exactly what happened. A Hispanic American lost his life.
I agree with you on that, but there's no such thing as sanctuary city. But you know what? After 9/11, we really created
there absolutely is such a thing as
for
sanctuary city.
All right, Francisco, let me ask you. Steve was right about border crossings down. They're down about 50% under President Trump. Still about 260,000 illegal immigrants crossed from Mexico into the United States so far this year alone.
Yeah.
Isn't that too much?
Yeah. It's way too much. But the problem is we've created a market for the cartels now to be in the human trafficking business. Now we provide everybody we deport. Now they're charging $6,000 per trip back. It hasn't stopped it. It's just turned over to a new criminal element in the last 17 years.
Okay, maybe that there's a market for illegal narcotics in the United States, but we're still allowed to do something about that.
Those are two different issues.
Isn't that right, Steve?
Those are two issues.
Yes, look,
you know, we can solve the drug trafficking issue.
This is a foundational promise of President Trump. When I campaigned for him, I don't think anything got quite the response, for instance, at our rallies, as Build the Wall did. It makes economic sense for our country. I think one reason wages have been depressed is because we've allowed a flood of illegal immigrants who compete in the wage market with legal Americans, many of them Hispanic Americans. And secondly, just for safety and for national security, we simply cannot have this porous, dangerous border. We're going to build that wall, and we're going to make a more prosperous, safer America, and people like Agent Martinez won't have to give their lives for it.
Assaults on Border Patrol agents, Francisco, are up about 50% this year. Don't you think a wall would reduce the amount of illegal alien assaults on the Border Patrol agents?
No. Well, it has nothing to do with the assault. But we're just
how do you figure?
we're gonna dig deeper tunnels and get taller laterals, guys. It's a jobs issue. As long as we're hiring them, we are attracting them. It is correct. If we can get Americans to take those jobs and pay a decent living wage, then we wouldn't be attracting them. It's our fault. And you know what? It is Mexico's fault, too, because of corruption and bad education. They are forcing people to leave.
Francisco,
Yes,
we got to go, but the prototypes are 18 feet to 30 feet, so I don't think a ladder's getting over that. Guys, I got to run,
Give it a shot.
Thank you very much.
Give it a shot.
In order to become a naturalized citizen, all immigrants who come here legally must pass a basic civics test. But could your average American answer these same questions correctly? Waters World finds out. What did the Declaration of Independence do?
I have no idea. That's awful.
I am not that knowledgeable on those declarations and the constitutions and all of that.
What country did we declare our independence from?
Virginia. Correct?
No. How many senators are there?
12. Yes! No! Oh, damn it. 42.
100.
I don't know how many senators we have, but I don't really care.
Who are the senators from the state of New York?
I don't know.
I wish I didn't know either. Crying Chuck. Doesn't ring a bell?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Who was Susan B. Anthony?
You can see her at the library a lot.
She a doctor?
Dr. Anthony?
Oh, that is very interesting.
He was never on John Oliver Show, The Daily Show, Stephen Colbert, so I don't even know about him.
It's a woman.
Oh, she's a woman?
Who won the Civil War?
I would have to say that the South won.
The Civil War is still going on. Nobody won that year. Nobody won that. Facts, facts, facts.
What was the Emancipation Proclamation?
I need to go home and read my 6th grade history book.
What the heck are you guys doing? Trying to ruin my life and make me look like a friggin' idiot?
Who is the Vice President of the United States? Mike.
Visconti? I don't know.
Pence. Pence.
Pence?
Mike Pence. What body of water is on the east coast of the United States?
That's the Pacific Ocean.
The Pacific?
The Pacific.
What body of water is on the east coast of the United States?
The Atlantic Ocean?
What territory did America buy from France?
Paris. With Benjamin Franklin.
We bought Paris?
Isn't it? With Benjamin Franklin, we bought Paris?
You're on to something with that.
We bought something from France?
Louisiana.
I thought it was the Statue of Liberty.
No, that was a gift.
Oh, it was a gift? They didn't pay for that?
If I was a citizen trying to get into the country, would I pass?
We'd give it to you.
Well.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Crown Heights, yo, 4 chains, yo, it's popping. I'm Palestinian, yo.
I'm Waters.
Waters?
And this is my world. Ever wonder how much people know about Thanksgiving? I'll give you a hint. Not a lot. A Waters World quiz still ahead. But up next, an exclusive tour of the Reagan Ranch. You don't want to miss this one. Stay tuned. For all of his accomplishments, President Ronald Reagan lived a relatively quiet, secluded life with his beloved Nancy. And nowhere did he enjoy spending more time than at his Santa Barbara home, nicknamed the Ranch in the Sky. Cameras are rarely allowed inside his home, but Waters World got an exclusive tour.
Inez Mountains, north of Santa Barbara. We are on 688 acres, Ronald Reagan's home, Rancho del Cielo, Ranch in the Sky.
How often would the president come up here?
He spent a lot of time here. He bought the ranch in 1974 while he was still governor. When he was in office, one of his 8 years was spent here at the ranch, more than 350 days. So this truly was the Western White House.
Whoa! Was this exactly how they left it?
The home looks today like it did the last time the president was here. This was their only private residence during the White House years.
Got a game room over here.
Yeah, you know, we don't know that they played bumper pool very often, but we do know that Reagan celebrated Thanksgiving here each of his 8 years in office. He decided never to leave Washington at Christmas time because he knew if he was traveling, staff, Secret Service, they'd all be away from their families.
What a nice guy.
Well, you know, he was very considerate, and that meant a lot to the people who worked with him. But they would come out for Thanksgiving. There's not a lot of room to entertain here, so they'd put a piece of plywood over the bumper pool table, and that's where they'd carve the turkey. This was the main room of the original 1872 adobe. This was the most private part of the house. Very few people ever saw this part of the ranch, if they made it to the property at all. That chair, that's where he would sit and make official phone calls. So we know he spoke to Margaret Thatcher sitting in that chair, astronauts orbiting in the space shuttle from that chair.
I allowed to sit in the chair?
We don't let many people sit in that chair, Jesse, but you can do it today.
Thank you.
Do you feel powerful?
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Not a king. 2 twin beds pushed together, strapped with plastic zip ties to keep the headboard from coming apart.
For the President of the United States.
For the President of the United States.
He was low maintenance, it looks like.
You know, he did have some unique needs. At about 6'2", he's a little bit tall for a twin bed, so they kept the bench on his side.
Where his feet hang
Where
off.
his feet would hang over.
That's classic. Love it. Oh, the President's closet.
Yeah, so the President's clothes hang on the left, Mrs. Reagan's on the right.
Calvin Klein, the guy had good taste. So you spend quite a lot of time with Ronald Reagan here at the ranch.
Well, I'm from the Secret Service, and one of my best jobs was riding with the president.
And where'd you guys go? Up in these trails?
Everywhere. Why don't you let me show you some spots?
Let's go take a look.
Let's do it.
Mind if I drive?
Oh, I want you to drive.
You might regret that. So is this where the lovebirds hang out?
This is Hard Rock, as the president called it. He scraped his initials and Mrs. Reagan's initials with the date, May 27th, 77.
Ronald and Nancy very much in love, weren't they?
Very much in love. One time, I signed an agent to her because I was with him, and I forgot to brief him. And we rode back in, but he got off his horse to help Mrs. Reagan down. And the president saw that. And he literally goes, John, he's doing my job. He pushes me out of the way. He gets up to the agent who's got her by the waist, and he pushes him out of the way and said, this is my job. And she falls down into his arms, and they started kissing. And then he turns and says, I suppose you wanted to do that too.
Incredible. The press gave President Reagan a hard time throughout his 8 years. Do you see any similarities with the way the press treats Donald Trump?
Well, I think they're attacking President Trump even more. Ronald Reagan, it just rolled off his back.
Did you personally ever interact with some of the members of the media that covered President Reagan?
I did. I'd go out drinking with them, and I'd ask them, you know, why do you do this stupid stuff? And I'd get an idiot answer. They just think that what they say is what you should hear. And sometimes the truth isn't brought out.
So there was fake news back then also?
Yeah, that's right. Well, come and see Ronald Reagan's Jeeps. You know, as president, he never gets to drive naturally. So that's another reason why he loves the ranch.
Yeah.
He can drive. Not well, but he drives his own Jeep. This is his favorite room.
His favorite room.
Ronald Reagan, as you know, rode English, and Mrs. Reagan rode Western. And that's his horse, Ella LeMaine, who was crazy. Oh, yeah. A lesser man couldn't have rode a horse like that.
What do you miss the most about the president?
His wisdom, how he loved people. People in the United States came first. After the attempted assassination, he just said, whatever God's given me left, I'm going to do it for the best that I can for the American people. And he always kept that front in his mind.
Coming up, What's better than leftover turkey in college football? A Waters World Thanksgiving quiz. Stay tuned. What country did the Pilgrims come from?
Israel?
Israel?
No.
Not Israel. Pilgrims were not Jewish.
Turkey for me, turkey for you. Let's eat the turkey in my big brown.
The Waters World Quiz, a time-honored tradition. So what better way to celebrate this holiday weekend than to see just how much the average American knows about Thanksgiving? Roll the tape. In your understanding,
yes,
what happened during the first Thanksgiving?
The first Thanksgiving? Well, I wasn't there, so I really don't know.
Who ate together on the first Thanksgiving?
Oh God, is this one of those quiz shows that make you look dumb?
No.
White people?
Who were these white people that were eating on the first Thanksgiving? What were they called? The
Oh, the Pittsburgh Pilgrims came to America. Americans fed them, welcomed them to our country.
So the Pilgrims dined with the Americans?
Yes.
The American people?
Yes.
The Indians and the Pilgrims got together.
You can't say Indians, that's offensive.
Native Americans got together with the Pilgrims and they had a big giant feast.
What do you think was on the menu at the first Thanksgiving?
Perhaps some sort of local vegetable and maybe meat. Turkey? I don't know. Buffalo? Chicken? I have no idea.
Maybe wild turkeys, pheasants.
Wild turkey like the drink?
No, that probably would have made the dinner a whole lot better, though.
Maybe, like, beets or cranberries or something.
I doubt they had stuffing.
What about for dessert? Do you think they had anything for dessert?
Maybe they roasted an apple or two.
What country did the Pilgrims come from?
Oh God, now you're pushing it.
It's been a long time since I've been in grammar school.
Europe?
Europe's not a country.
Sweden? Spain?
Italy, Spain?
Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
Israel?
Israel?
No.
Not Israel. Pilgrims were not Jewish. And why did the Pilgrims come here?
To spread their empire.
New land, gold.
They were from the United Kingdom, escaping religious persecution.
What year did the Pilgrims get here?
1800s?
19s.
1700 something.
1600s.
You're on fire. When the Pilgrims got here, where did they land?
South Carolina.
Virginia?
New York? I have no idea.
Plymouth Rock.
Yes. And where is Plymouth Rock?
In Massachusetts.
You are incredible.
I am smart.
How'd the Pilgrims get here?
Boat.
What was the name of the boat? What was the name of the boat?
Plymouth? Rock?
The Nina, the Pinta?
Santa Maria? I have no idea.
That was Columbus.
Yeah, okay, well, I was wrong.
The
Mayflower.
Yes! What are you thankful for on Thanksgiving?
I'm thankful for just making a fool of myself.
Do you know who I am?
No. Who the hell are you?
I'm Waters.
Right, Waters.
And this is my world.
Snap.
Coming up.